Hello, screenwriters, and welcome to Writing for Screens. Today's episode of Ask Me Almost Anything, Why Are You So Nice? My name is Glenn Gers, and I am the Chief Operating Everything of Writing for Screens, a YouTube channel in which I try to take 25 years worth of experience writing for TV and movies, things that I had to teach myself and learn during that time. On my way out of the business, I am leaving behind what I can so that you don't have to teach yourself that same thing. You can just look here at my channel. Here is a screen grab of the main channel page, and if you look down at the bottom, you will see playlists. These playlists, let me show you a closer example. The first three of them are called Screenwriting Essentials, Screenwriting Tools, Skills, and Craft, and The Process, Being a Writer. These three playlists have about 50 10-minute videos. Each one of those videos is a lesson on a particular topic. Dramatic action, dialogue, flashbacks, character. Whatever it is, I made it a nice bold thumbnail and the title so that you can find the thing you are interested in exploring and try to get some tips, some techniques, some insights that I figured out as I worked in this art and craft and business. You have to take those things. I tried to put them into very simple, clear, short versions so that you can see if they make sense to you. Because there is no right or wrong way to be a creative writer. There is no right or wrong art. So therefore, you have to figure out for yourself what your art is going to be like and what your process is going to be like, because every artist has to figure that out for themselves. That is an important part of being an artist. All I can do is offer you some of the things that I have experienced or figured out, tried for myself, or heard about other people doing so that you can try it out for yourself and make your own way. So that's the main heart of this channel, those 50 videos, which are there free 24/7 for you to look at, stop and start, think about them, try them, disregard them, all sorts of different topics there. Please look at them. They are the best things I have to offer. Anything else I offer is just backup for those. Among that backup is here. I come every Wednesday live at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time Zone to talk about different topics. Every week's a different topic, and today's is going to be on the topic, why are you so nice? Which I will explain is not just about me. It's actually about what I believe all artists should be considering. But first, a couple of hellos. Hello, Sonia. Hello, Pelicans. Hello, Donna and Najo. And Nishaj, hello. Greetings to Jennifer and Hans. Hello, Hans. What are in those boxes? I will tell you in just a minute. All right. And hello, Michael. Okay. So about those boxes, let's just briefly, they are assorted papers and things that from my pre-digital life. I've got old plays that I wrote, scripts I wrote, journals and letters, etc., and then a whole bunch of old photographs. That's what's in them. Paper stuff. Okay, let us get into exactly what I am doing here today. Before we do the Ask Me Anythings, let's just talk about this topic, which is 2 weeks ago in chat, I screen grabbed it. Mr. Freeman said, why are you so nice? I think he was talking about the fact that I really do try to consider that there are many, many different ways to be an artist and to make art. And therefore, my job is not necessarily to say this is the right thing to do and everything else is trash, but in fact, to try to be nice. And the more I thought about that, the more I realized that Partly there is just personal reasons for being the way I am, and I'll talk about those. But almost all of those, I realized, are also kind of the heart of my creative philosophy and what I try to teach and how I try to teach. So I thought this is not a bad thing to talk about, because I do want to teach this concept, which is, honestly, let's be nice. First, another quick bunch of hellos. Thank you. Thank you so much, Donna. I really appreciate that. Hello, Alexis. You are very welcome, Hans. Very nice to meet you. Are you related to the painter Leger? Okay, congratulations, Donna. Yes, on your script. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. It is so great to hear. My videos have helped a lot when you're stuck with your script. Nishaj was helped by them. Let's talk about being nice. So the question, why am I nice? The first thing I want to say is just that personally, I have found that pressure, negative criticism, exclusion or rejection, ranking, these are things that do not help me. In my life, I have never once felt, oh yeah, I'm really glad that somebody was mean to me. I can understand, and I'll talk more about that, the idea of perhaps holding things to a high standard or being realistic about the pressures required for the job. But that's different from being mean. You can be nice while holding up a high standard. And what I've really discovered is, for some reason, it is often thought that being nice is somehow bad for people. And I just genuinely cannot, I can't buy that one. I have never found that being put under pressure or being treated harshly has helped me in any way. So the first thing is just like, everything I do in this channel is simply me trying to work through how I learned and did things, in the hope that those things, when crunched down to some simple, practical, impersonal version, might help you. Also, personally, this is really true. It's not just about creative stuff. I hate competition. I just don't like it. I can never remember a time when I liked it. And this has nothing to do with, I like the idea of play. I like the idea of skill in sports or games. But the idea of ranking or winning and losing just feels wrong to me. It's objectionable to me on a personal level. It just feels incorrect. It feels unjust, and frankly makes me very irritable. So I tried to explain this in creative ways in this video, which I've put a link to down below in the description, Contest versus Library, which I talk about the concept of competition in the arts and whether or not that's a good thing. I don't think it is. I just don't. I also talk about it a little in this video, Screenwriting Rules, where I talk about the idea that there are many, many ways to do things. And I'm not saying that any of them is particularly right. What's right is what works for you. And so that one should frankly not be excluding or denying anything without trying to engage with it and understand it and see if there isn't something that you can use for yourself. Just, yeah, competition. Like I just don't like it. It gives me a nasty feeling. And this is not about winning or losing for me. Honestly, recently I was listening to a podcast where Tig Notaro was talking about how uncomfortable she has gotten with praise. Not because she doesn't like it, not because she doesn't feel she deserves it. It's just irrelevant to the thing that you do. It's nice. It's not bad. Rather win than lose, I suppose. But what if there was some way of not thinking in those terms? And I do want to say that I do try to live out my principles. I literally put my money where my mouth is, in the sense of this channel, for instance. I have distinctly refused to try to monetize it or make it more popular than it would be on its own. In other words, there's many things you can do to tweak the popularity of videos. You can do all this SEO stuff, and you can really, do A/B testing on whether or not something is more or less popular, and then go with that. My feeling about that is that it is, while I may win, I will lose the thing I am trying to do. What is the point of being more popular at a thing that you don't believe in? I don't get that. As a result, this channel is not that popular. I mean, I love that I've got you here, those who are looking at it, but I am not willing to suddenly try and get into those things that might make it more popular by bringing in hot topics or TikTok dances or, yes, I have once or twice brought in my cat, but that's just because the cat was here. Furthermore, I have in my career, when I've had the opportunity, chosen, for instance, my movie Disfigured, there was an option to cast bigger names, which would have allowed us a bigger distribution deal. But the actors who were bigger names were not willing to do the script as written. Particularly, there's a nude scene in the movie Disfigured, and the actors weren't willing to do it. And I said, I would rather have this be less popular and more truthful to the characters in the story, which was that's what the nude scene was about. So honestly, I have often said I would rather lose doing the thing I want to do than win by doing something I don't want to do. I don't know that to me that doesn't seem like winning. I really did this badly with Like, Share, Follow, which there was an option to recut it. When I finished the film, Blumhouse brought it to HBO. And HBO had a new head of creative development there for these movies, the acquisitions. And they suggested that I completely re-edit my movie into, frankly, an entirely different story. And I hated that version. And I was said, if you do this, HBO will push it. If you don't do this, HBO will bury it. And I wrote a letter to Jason Blum, and I have to say, I give Jason Blum credit. He said, you don't have to do this. We will support you if you fight with HBO on this. And I wrote a letter and said, I would rather that this movie be buried, that there be no advertising or whatever, than it be turned into something that I didn't work 2 years on, that I do not believe in. The result was, in fact, it was buried. They never even made a trailer. There has been this is not available on any of its streaming. It was moved from HBO to Cinemax, which then promptly lost its streaming channel. It's not around except on YouTube for free, so please feel free to watch it. But the point is, I made that choice. I said I would rather lose doing my thing than win and not be me. So this is, in fact, a personal choice, which I am at least willing to live by. Very briefly, I'm going to say hello to a couple of people who come on because they're saying hello. Hi, Ricky. Hi, Maria. I'm glad you got your 10 minutes. I'm very, very glad to see you. Yes. Yes, the topic of Disfigured was indeed probably a little under appreciated at the time. What can you do? Hi, Pedro. Good to see you. Hello, TT. Thank you, Maria. I really appreciate that. That is indeed what I think. That promoted well, it might have done better. I think it did well. Okay, so let's talk about the other reasons I am nice. Because what I'm trying to get here to is not talking about myself, but in fact talking about you. Why should you be nice? First of all, I'm the sensitive type. I am a sensitive person. Seeing cruelty. Actually, if I'm watching, a movie and people are killing each other, I'm fine with that. But but to see actual cruelty in life is extremely disturbing to me. And the times that when I have made mistakes and been cruel myself, I deeply regret that. Cruelty is, if at all possible, to be avoided as far as I'm concerned. It's not something admirable. It is not something effective. Being mean almost never is worth whatever you think you're getting from the being mean. But more important than that, and this is where the writing stuff comes in, I believe that sensitivity is empathy. And empathy is the key to almost all great writing. Admittedly, there could be some very mean, vicious writing, I expect. But the truth is, empathy is putting yourself into the feelings or thoughts of another, which is absolutely required for dramatic writing. If you are writing about characters, if you are writing about people, you are going to have to imagine, to feel in order to write about their experience, which will not be yours. So empathy is extraordinarily important. It really bothers me, actually, that so much writing, screenwriting teaching focuses on the hero, on the protagonist and the antagonist, as if everyone else is just cardboard stage props for this thing that all you care about is the protagonist and the antagonist. I call bullshit on that. I believe every single character requires your empathy. You need to think about every single character and understand what they want, what they need, what they are doing. And so therefore, if empathy is not something that comes naturally to you, if you don't find yourself thinking about or feeling what the other people think and feel in your stories, practice it. Spend some time, ask yourself that question. What is this person feeling? When you are feeling what this person is feeling, you tend to want to be nice to them, which includes, I've been very nice to a lot of monstrous characters. That's okay. Okay. Let's just see what we got here. Thank you, Nishaj. Appreciate this. And why shouldn't we be nice? Maria agrees. Yeah. I am just, I believe that it's very easy to connect with characters. I think it's important as a creator. So the next reason personally that I find myself being nice when it comes to these discussions of things, I genuinely like a lot of stuff. And this is me. Different people are different. You may find it hard to like things other than a very specific, narrow set of things, and that's cool. But even within that, I think you will find that most artists, like the artists who you admire, you will find that they are infinitely curious about other artists. They want to know how others do it, even in different forms. You'll find musicians who are really into all sorts of different music. It's really just why not try to find what's likable in a work of art that you are experiencing? Sometimes it can be a waste of time. There is too much stuff out there. It can be bad to have not enough of a brand, in the sense that if you like too many things, you can sometimes be a little hard to pin down commercially, genre-wise, and that is admittedly not a great thing. But I genuinely believe liking a lot of stuff makes you more flexible as an artist, and it gives you a bigger toolbox. If you can see the value of both the low, crass commercial crap and the high, artsy beauty thing, if you can like both a rom-com and sci-fi, if you can like a lot of different things, you are going to be more capable as an artist. You are going to have more tricks and tools and possibilities. And so to me, saying, well, and I do this a lot, I will see something that's bad. I don't think it's very good, but I will think, that scene was good, or that idea which they didn't do well, but the idea is good, or there's parts of the way this is done that I admire, even though its message is shallow or bad. So I guess that my main thing about that is just to feel like, why not look for what is good? And I've talked about this before, is that this is a matter of survival to me. If I am not looking towards what's good, I will not be motivated enough to do my own work, because I'll be thinking, oh, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad. But if I say, well, it may be bad, but that idea is good, or that character, that scene, that's not bad, so therefore I can say that's worth pursuing. And the other thing is, honestly, that good, bad, these are opinions. These are matters of taste. It's not like it's actually good or bad. There's no such thing as good or bad art. There really isn't. Like, something that you think is boring, other people will find incredibly pleasing and satisfying. Opinions are like assholes. The famous quote. Everybody's got one. Nobody thinks theirs smells as bad as other people do. It's just that simple. We all have opinions. It doesn't mean that your opinion should steamroll someone else's. There is, and it is important to recognize that there are different values. There are different goals. So that's a biggie. The other reason, personally, that I find that it's important to be nice, to be positive, to be constructive, is doing things or making things. It helps fight off despair and depression. It helps you to deal with life. That life can be hard. Life can be really hard. And for me, the only thing that keeps depression or bad feelings away is doing something. And if you are spending all your time being mean, you're not doing something. You're not making something. There is something inherently healthy, as far as I'm concerned, in trying not to be dismissive, trying not to be cutting things away or pushing them down or stopping them from existing. Doing things or making things is just good for you. At least for me, it has always been. If all I do is think about how narrow the window of goodness is, then most of the things I write, I'm going to think, don't go through that little bottleneck, and I will have no reason to exist. Let me just do some quick. Oh, hi, Robert. You're the why the Yeah. No, Robert, I thank you for your original question, which set off this whole thing, and I will talk about what you just asked me. Let's continue on this. One of the other reasons that I think it's important to people talk about standards, like you need to maintain standards, and therefore you have to be hard on other people or hard on artwork that is coming at you. And the question is, what is the point of standards? If you are creating, if you are curating, if you are, like I've got a gallery, I've got a museum, I've got a publishing house, I've got a movie studio, you need to have reasons to choose, I am going to put this thing in and this thing out. So that their standards are on that, although often those standards are, this is what I like or this is what I feel. If you are vouching for someone, if you are a school or a teacher, and you are going to give someone a grade or a diploma, that is vouching for them. It's saying, this person passed my standards of learning. They got enough out of it that I can tell you they're good to go. So in that sense, yes, if someone is learning screenwriting and at a screenwriting school, and they cannot work within the standard screenwriting format, you should in fact not pass them. You don't have to be mean, though. You could still be nice about that. That's the thing. And if you have a very strong set of values, if you have a belief that something should not be in art, that art should be religious, or art should be positive, or art should be critical of capitalism, whatever it is that you believe, those are legitimate reasons to have to make choices. That does not require you to be mean. It does not require you to be negative about the thing that you are choosing not to do. You don't have to be negative to do that. You're making a choice. The choice is not being forced on you by the goodness or badness of the things. You are making a choice. And frankly, that's empowering and nice. It's kind to say, I am choosing this. I am sorry I didn't choose this, but I don't believe in this, or I don't think it's good enough, or whatever it is. But that is my choice. That's very, very important when you're doing this. It's also very important when you are creating. And frankly, most of you out there should be thinking in terms of creating, not curating, not distributing, not proselytizing your ideas. You should be talking creating. And if you are a creator, your standard is personal best. If your work is doing a little better, if it's getting to a personal best, and that personal best is terrible in terms of Academy Award nominees or something, no problem. Your job is to do your personal best, not anything else, if you are a creator. The other thing about all this is everything is complicated. You know, if you are being mean, you are probably oversimplifying something as far as I'm concerned. You know, when people say, that's complicated, that's not the end, that's not the answer. That's the introduction to the complicated situation. That is not the end of the story. That is the beginning of exploring and inquiring and understanding that complicated situation. So it's really important that you remember that when you say, that sucks, it's more complicated than that. It may be that it sucks according to one set of values or not another, or it sucks because they didn't have the budget to do it, or because one of the people involved sabotaged the production because of their ego. There's so many reasons that things can be bad. And sometimes you can say, you know, considering that, it's not bad, actually. It's complicated. And the other thing that I talked about before is everything is complicated is the very heart of dramatic writing. Every character has their own point of view and needs. That's how you make good writing. That's how you create a scene. That's how you create a story. So if you are simplifying to the point that there's a protagonist and an antagonist and everyone else is just sort of like feeding them information or making, you know, like being a sidekick, you're not doing good writing. So therefore, I feel that being nice in the sense of trying to understand and explore and inquire about each idea, each point of view, each thing is essential to being a good writer. Now, in looking at that complication, looking at how nothing is that simple, I do want to apply that to my own rules. Because while I'm saying, oh, I hate competition and everything else, the truth is there are some complications to my beliefs. I may hate competition. I may hate winning and losing. But the truth is there are some reasons that you need it. Without a competition, without a winner and a loser, how would you know that the game is over, that the thing that you're doing is done? You actually do need to have a winner and a loser for the thing to be done. I suppose you can have a tie, but even that is essentially still having a net judgment at the end. The other thing is that there are people who do better because of competition and pressure. I don't want to deny that. I personally don't, but I do know that there's some people who seem to thrive when they're getting, yelled at by a drill sergeant. That's cool. I'm happy that that's true. I do want to admit that that is so. I just don't personally do it. Furthermore, everything is not the same. So there are reasons to judge the difference, to judge the qualities. I don't know that you necessarily have to rank them. I don't know that you have to say, this is best and this is third best. But I do believe you have to distinguish between things. That is very important. And plus, you just can't have everything. There's no matter how, there's too much stuff in the world. And therefore there's too many movies or too many scripts, and you do have to sort them out somehow. So there is a reason for competition or winning and losing, for judgment. There are things that are not worth your time. That does not mean they're worthless. And that's, if you think of that as being nice, yeah, then I'm being nice. What can I tell you? The values, the reasons to not be nice seem to me that there are limited resources. If you only have 12 slots in your company for scripts, then 15 scripts is too many and something's got to go. And that also is your task. If your job is curating, if your job is judging and presenting to people your judged things because they count on you to sort out the ones that are too violent or too sexy or too boring or too incoherent, whatever, then that's your job. You should, quote, not be nice, in the sense that you should not make everything the same. Furthermore, production demands excellence. It is hard. It is hard to make art. It is hard to make art that is going to be successful in a commercial marketplace. It is hard, and therefore you got to be working really hard, and you are going to be judged in a deeply competitive way. I understand that. I respect that. Before I get into some larger topics about this, I want to just briefly get into a couple of comments. Characters have to mean something to your life, your everyday. Those are the best characters. Maria, once again, thank you. Yes. Donna says, wow, I made a 1-hour video for my alternate channel about kindness and cruelty. Intentional cruelty, like you said, Glenn, is unwatchable to me and the antithesis of an authentic human. I would say it's unwatchable to me if I am watching like a cultural critic or a reviewer or something being cruel, or even a political comedian. What I would not say is that intentional cruelty can easily be part of a story. Cruelty exists in the world, and there's nothing wrong with depicting it. There is something wrong with celebrating it, and there is something wrong with enacting it in your life, in your engagements with art or people. Can you put the name of your movie in the description? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. There are two of them. One is called Disfigured, which is available to rent on Amazon and Apple, and maybe on YouTube. I don't know. And Like, Share, Follow. I will put them in. Let me write that down. In the description after the episode. Okay. Yeah, Robert Freeman, so sorry. Let's not do any canceling here. Okay. What is the meaning of being nice to your character? I mean, we create them. What I mean by being nice, and admittedly, what is the meaning of being nice to a character? What I'm saying is to try and understand their feelings, to try and understand their motives from their point of view. Even if you personally think they are wrong, when you are writing a character, you need to understand what they think is right, even if you don't agree with it in terms of a story. And whether or not that is nice, it's just a way of saying empathy. It's a way of saying, try to not stand outside your characters entirely, but also to think about what it's like to be them, to be inside them. Hi, Thumper. The wow on the synchronicity. Yes, okay. Many celebrities are nice giving their time to their fans. Yes, that is true. Yes, yeah, and it is hard. It is hard to be a celebrity, to have people coming at you. Okay, so I'm going to briefly pause before some more comments. I want to get a couple more ideas here. The first one is that when we're talking about being nice, I do think it's important to realize that there has become, in the past 20, 30 years or so, maybe even more, in the liberation and freedom of expression and the breaking down of formal rules of behavior, which is in many ways a good thing, but there has also become, therefore, a certain delight in causing destruction or trampling other people's feelings, or just making yourself big by making someone else small. This is a cultural thing that is being fed in the digital era by the means by which we most communicate, which are algorithmic in terms of social media and other group sites. The whole point of the digital era was essentially that everyone was given a voice, that it was more possible to speak to the public, to strangers, than had ever been true before. And that you were supposed to post. You're supposed to post your thoughts. You're supposed to post your feelings and ideas. You're supposed to post your life. And you're also constantly being asked to rate. To rate this vendor when you buy something, to rate this movie when you watch it. These are forms of engagement for the websites, the companies that you are working for. There's a double-edged sword here, because while it is actually really cool to think that your opinion will reach out, that in fact the filmmaker may see your Letterboxd review or your Amazon review. But let's just remember, as Spider-Man learned in his very first comic, with great power, there must also come great responsibility. You are responsible for what you put out into the world. It's just that simple. So while it might be fun to just like give something a 1-star review and say, this sucks, that's mean. There's no value to it. You are simply making yourself big by making something else small. You are making yourself important by dismissing something else. If you want to say why it's bad, cool. In my opinion, if you're only saying what is bad, that can be entertaining. I don't want to take that away. I just want to point out, remember that, you know, there's a person on the other end of that. It feels good to put things down. It means that you are better than that thing. It means you are free of that thing. You don't have to care about that thing because you have dismissed it. But there's someone who made that thing. There's someone who put that thing out there. There's someone who is in that thing. You know, that's, think about, and I don't mean that just in like that, you know, actually I do. I mean, that just that kindergarten way. Remember that other people have feelings, and that if there's no, what is to be gained by hurting that person's feelings, even if you want to say, to me, it felt kind of aimless. You know, it would be easy enough to say it was kind of aimless, but boy, you know, that the score was nice. Something. Try not to be mean. I also believe that we are often not nice because we are afraid of our own loss. That something will be taken from, that our own position is being removed or blocked. Especially if you're a writer, partly you will be feeling, well, I mean, like I've got to push my agenda. I've got to push my values. If I'm doing rom-coms and somebody else is doing sci-fi, well, sci-fi is stupid. And that's not true. It's just not true. But it makes us feel safer. It makes us feel safer to believe that things are simple and that we are right. And what I would suggest then, and maybe one of the reasons that I am able to be nicer than perhaps I used to be, is that I'm older and I have less to lose. That I have had some success and I have less to lose. But what I would suggest to everyone out there is, before you start spewing negative things, make yourself safe. Like if you feel like you have a creative way to do your work. If you are not afraid that your thoughts and work will be neglected or ignored or dismissed, you are less likely to feel the pleasure of stomping on someone. So just that's something to think about. That the other thing, just to point out to you, for those of you who have not lived as long as I have and not seen as much as I have, winning is really brief and fragile. It is. No world's record goes unbroken. No number one hit stays important to the culture. Winning is not going to last, and it is not the point of the thing you're doing. Winning is not the purpose of ice skating or playing basketball or writing a novel. The point of the activity is the thing you are doing it well because you like doing it well because there is a beauty in doing it well, is different from winning. The Ted Lasso is actually a really good, complex exposition of this concept. And I do want to just remind you, do the thing you are doing. You are not doing writing in order to win. You are doing writing in order to get things written and hopefully have somebody read them. The goal of an artist is to make art, to make more art, to get the opportunity to keep making art. So we start to think, well, I have to win, I have to make the money, I have to get the hit because that will give me the opportunity to make more art. But you could just make yourself safe. You could just make cheaper art. You could just not worry too much about whether or not you get millions of views. Just get hundreds of views. If you remember, do the thing. Do the thing whether or not anyone likes it. That's really, really going to be the most important denial of all things that we fear. There is nothing that lasts forever. Shakespeare, most people can't read it, don't like it. There is nothing that will stay the number one hit. It's just that simple. It's going to change. It's going to pass. The other thing I wanted to talk about is that I think seeing more goodness, seeing more possibilities, seeing more things that are worth something, it tends to motivate you more than fear, more than aggression. Seeing that there is goodness to be gained is more motivating, as far as I'm concerned. Some of you may be motivated by envy. Some of you may be motivated by anger or greed or whatever. But for me, the most motivating thing is the sense that there is room for lots of stuff. And that the job is just to get your stuff out there, to do the thing. And finally, I just want to point out that there's another reason to be nice. Treat others as you would like them to treat you. It's just that simple. Artistically, personally, the golden rule. There it is. Okay, let's look at some comments. I hate whenever I hand in a nonlinear structure to my screenwriting teacher in my film school. They would ask me to rewrite it, claiming no one ever buys a nonlinear script from a new writer. Yes, this is clearly not true. I will make a caveat for anyone who is in a school. If you are in a school, if you have signed on to be in the school, you are there to learn what they have to teach you. What they have to teach you may not be everything. But while you're there, try to do the thing they're teaching you, because what's the point of being there otherwise? What are you going to do? Make them change their school policy? If they believe in linear scripts, write linear scripts while you're trying to learn from them. When you're not writing for them, write whatever the hell you want. I do think that that's a valuable thing. There's no point if you ask someone's opinion to then fight with them over their opinion. It's their opinion. And if they are a teacher, their beliefs, you are signing on to learn their beliefs. Now, you don't have to do what they say except in their class. In their class, you should do what they say. It's their class. You signed on to be in it. Okay. Creating can indeed save your life and maybe someone else's. Yes, I happen to agree with that. May I ask a legal question, or would that be out of place here? You can ask. I don't know the answer. I am not a lawyer. And I do want to point, I have here, not legal advice is going to come up as part of my answer, which is I do not know legal truth. However, ask away. My choice is to subscribe to it. We got some relating to old things I said. We want to be nice in real life, but we love characters and fiction and movies that are not nice. That is absolutely. Do we love them? Yes, we love them in the sense that sometimes we love watching a story about them. Most of the time, we do not love the cruel characters. Now and then we do it. Like somebody will be cruel because they are accomplishing something or something, and we'll kind of go with that. It's a fine line, yes. I found out that the free resources about screenwriting on YouTube is somehow better than paid content of screenwriting gurus. Well, I don't know that that is true. I think that that's, once again, it's complicated. Some paid gurus, I even know some, I have been one, I may be one again. The reason that you pay gurus is because they spent a long time learning and working, and they need to pay their rent. So therefore, they are teaching for money, for a living, as well as for the joy of teaching. That does not make them wrong by the fact that they are charging. I happen to not be charging at the moment because it's more convenient for me. It allows me more control, and it allows me a certain emotional safety. I don't have to worry. I could stop doing this and no one would be hurt. Okay. Ricky, I like my protagonist to have a good heart. Often, but not always. Legal questions should be answered by legal professionals. That is essentially true in terms of the law. Sonia says, I am writing tragedies and love watching horror and stuff like that. So that by that choice, I can't and don't want to be nice to my characters. That's true, but I suffer and laugh and cry with them. Okay, yes, but I would offer that when I say be nice to the character, I mean be nice in that you are putting yourself into them, which means if you have a character who is literally a monster or an evil person, you want to, while you are writing them, feel the feelings they have, which can often be terrible. You can feel the pleasure of murdering, and that is the whole use of art often, is so that we can explore things that we should not do in real life. Okay, so Robert says, and we'll get back to his original question, I hired a screenwriting coach not to improve my writing, but to make sure I am writing, someone to keep me accountable. No, actually that doesn't sound insane, but then you want to make sure that your teacher is in on that job. In other words, does the teacher know that that is what you're looking for from them? Because if they don't, they may be mean to you because they don't understand what you need from, why you hired them. And they may say to you, I can't do that. Find someone who's more of a supportive coach. So there is absolutely nothing wrong. I personally did that job. I worked as somebody's screenwriting coach for a year, checking with them. Like every day they had to check in with me. I wrote today. And they paid me for that service and then to talk to them once a week about that. Cool. That's great. That's all good. The thing you don't want to do is hire someone who has very strong opinions about their standards or about sales or whatever it is that they're telling you they have to do. Once again, if this writer, this writing teacher coach is being mean to you, as you've suggested they were, by saying that the work is shit, that's not actually, you should find a different coach. It's just simple, Ideally, with all of you who are taking writing classes or things, try to do it in small increments and find out if you like them. If you sign on for a 10-year package with somebody you've never worked with before, you could very easily say after a week or two, ooh, this is not my style, or I just don't respect them. see if you can get a 1 week or a 1 month or whatever. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. It is not okay, frankly, for a teacher to say that the student's work is shit. It's just not. As far as I'm concerned, I would not be nice about that. I believe that teacher, I would be in the sense that I would not say, oh, that teacher's shit. I would say, ideally, someone should, well, first of all, you should talk to the teacher and say, this doesn't help me. This is what I need. If they are not in that business, some of them are in the business of beating up on their students. If that is the business they are in, find a different teacher. Okay, so YPS's question. Is it illegal to virtually recreate real-life military installations based on publicly accessible Google? Okay, here's the question. Here's my answer to that. Whether or not it is actually illegal, I don't know. And I will say once again, very important, I am not giving legal advice. What I am saying is that whether or not it is illegal, it's kind of bad form. Because it's a military institution. They have security issues. They have security concerns which are legitimate. Whether or not you like the military, whether or not you feel that the military should not have this base, to actually openly sabotage them or make possible the sabotage of them is morally wrong. Okay? Protest. You don't like it? Go stand outside their gates and say, close this installation. But if you're simply recreating a real-life military installation because it's cool, no. Well, I wrote a script called Mad Money, adaptation of a British movie, and it was about some people who robbed from within the Federal Reserve Bank. And I was asked, do I want to do research on how the Federal Reserve Bank actually operates? And I said no, because why would I want to actually show an authentic way you could rob the bank and put that out to the public? It's wrong. I made up stuff. I made it up in the most fun way I could imagine. And I made sure that it was not real. Because I don't understand the value of recreating a real life military installation. Even though you can go to Google, there's still no purpose. You are creating for your game a military installation. Make it yours. Make it anything you're creating, you should make yours. Even if Pixar is doing a movie about fish, they study real fish and then they make the fish theirs. They change the faces. They make them behave in ways that are better for the character. They don't just documentary archival footage of fish. Okay? There's no value to that. I don't understand what the value would be. If you are telling a historical story about an authentic place, you have to consider whether or not you are authentically telling the truth about those events. Okay. I'll rewind to find the answer to why. Okay. Yeah. Check it out. Legally speaking, Maria's getting into some details about, yes. Okay. Maria is saying she knows, as the CEO of a video game development company, it is not something that you can use creatively. In other words, you can use Google Maps to find a thing. You can't use Google Maps to make a map. You couldn't print out a Google map and sell it and say, this is Glenn's map. It's not. That's actually theft. I mean, only one. Robert was talking about a screenwriting coach that said that the work was shit. Only one. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. I understand that one screenwriting coach told me that your work is shit. That screenwriting coach you should disengage with. I don't know. Maybe they were having a bad day, but still, unless you love them, get away from them. And if you do love their teaching otherwise, say to them, could you not call my work shit, please? Okay, YPS said, I did not mean copy and paste, but to use it manually to recreate the content. No, even so, if you are manually recreating a thing that you are taking from someone else's work, that's not okay. I don't know legally, but I know personally I am saying don't do that. It's like if I was going to create a character and I recreated someone else's character, if I decided to take the, Bruce Wayne and say, I'm going to use Bruce Wayne as a character, I can't. It's somebody else's creation. Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. Hi, Stay Foolish. Dogs don't bark because they are strong. This is true. Meanness usually comes from fear or insecurity, weakness in some way. Yes, that is true. Okay, YPS. The end of the story is, in my opinion, it's my show. I'm just giving my opinion. It doesn't matter why it's not right. I'm saying it's not right. I have no idea about the copyright or security issues of reproducing an existing military installation. I'm saying there's no valid reason to do it. Make your own. This is about creativity, and the answer is there's no actual reason to simply take another thing and reproduce it, except, laziness. Change it. Make it your own. Do something that will make it your creative thing and remove the copyright and security issues. Hi, Anonymous. I'm that artist some month ago jumped in asking stuff like, what's the point of all the effort? I just got the biggest defeat of my career and I'm forced to go back to blue-collar jobs to live. I am very sorry to hear that. Okay, I'm going to skip down to the other part of this. I just came back to thank you because after weeks ruminating on what you said to me, I'm taking this as a setback instead of yes, instead of the death sentence. Yes, it is not. Most artists have a day job. Like there was just an article, I can't remember where I saw it. There was a Substack. Somebody was pointing out that the number of artists who make a living off of their art is equivalent to the number of billionaires. In other words, there is a teeny tiny percentage of business people and who make $1 billion. Tiny number. The number of people who actually make a full-time living at creative work is microscopic. It is way less than 1%. I don't even know the number. It's like point something of 1%. The question then becomes, if you want to do this art, are you only doing it to make a living? If you're doing it to make a living, that's a bad gamble. If you are doing it to do it, and you wish you could make a living at it, there are many varieties of ways to deal with that, and that is what every artist has to reckon with. My way of reckoning was I sacrificed a great deal of my artistic life in order to make the money. I had to give up, and I deeply regret in many ways some of the things I gave up in order to do the artwork that the money wanted. And then I had to work for decades to get skilled at it and to get educated in it and to get my break in it. And I'm one of the teeny bunch of people who for a short while, didn't last, did make a living. Now I don't. I cannot get a job now. I could not possibly make a living at writing at this point. The answer has got to be, you need to adjust your understanding of the purpose of art and life to say, I am doing this art because I like to do this art. Maybe that means you move in with your parents, or you get a roommate, or you marry someone who will support you, or you move to a place where the rent is less. All of those things. And that's, by the way, I lived in a crappy place for a long time. And the answer has got to be, and I do not mean in any way to say this is easy, but to recognize that that is the game. That is the choice you need to make in order to be an artist. The other way is to try and work in the art-related business. because it might make you feel better, but that is going to be very demanding. When I was spending my 12 years doing day jobs before I got writing jobs, I leaned towards temping and like office security job. And there's some job where I just had to sit at a desk and make sure that no one came through the door. That was my job for a year. I was a receptionist for a year because it let me write at the desk. Or some people, they work like in film production, they will work very, very intensely for 2 or 3 months and then take a month or so off because they've saved up enough in that 2 or 3 months of 18-hour days to take a month off, and then they go back to it. And it depends on how you operate. But the main thing is none of this, no judgment of your art should be applied to money. Money and art are very uneasy citizens of the same landscape. That's the best I can say about it. So I thank you, Anonymous. I'm really glad that you are seeing it as a setback, and also to consider, are there ways to lessen the need to make money at your art so that you can do your art more? Once again, ask yourself these questions. Suppose I could find a way to make art full time, but it wouldn't go to a big public and it wouldn't make money. Suppose you had an inheritance, or you were a prisoner and all you could do was do drawings or write stories. But the world was not going to love them and they weren't going to pay you. Wouldn't that be a good thing in some ways? Anyway, just think. Did you ever feel indifferent to your characters before? Recently, I have a side character who I just have very few feelings for her. I don't know why I feel either nice nor mean. She's just like the air. Sure, absolutely. The important thing is that not be an important character. Sometimes you write a character who's just, they're a cog in the machine. You know, they are a cliche. They are simple. They are a trick. You know, they're the ones who's going to do a funny thing, or the one who's going to be the exposition character. Yeah, you can do that. You just have to know that you're doing it and make sure that they're serving that purpose well. I personally find that sometimes a little bit of feeling creeps in once they're doing their job. Okay. All right. I'm going to stay out of I've made myself clear on my feelings about copying existing structures into video games. I believe that you should alter them and make them a creative new work. So I'm going to skip over those comments. Feng says, the one thing that bothers me is that no way the goals were so unrealistic. No way in hell that goals can be scored like that in reality. I must have skipped something from Feng because I'm not sure what that refers to. I'm not sure what that means, Feng. Sorry. Okay. You remember the scene in Adaptation where Nick Cage gets out? That's actually one of my favorite scenes in all of film history. There's a scene where Nicolas Cage's character, who's Charlie Kaufman, written by Charlie Kaufman, he's having problems with the script. By the way, if any of you have not seen the movie Adaptation, you should see it because it is an in-depth exploration into screenwriting. And he goes to a lecture by a very famous screenwriting teacher whose name, Robert McKee, is also real. But he's not the real Robert McKee. He's played by Brian Cox. And Charlie Kaufman's character says, like, I don't want to do X, Y, and Z. And McKee yells at him about how X, Y, and Z is, in fact, a totally valid thing to do. It's a great, great thing. Oh, okay. Ted Lasso is what Feng was talking about. Let's talk about what now. The thing that bothers me is no ways the goals were so unrealistic. No way in hell goals can be. Okay, you mean like the soccer goals? Sure. It's a TV show. Things are going to be so. There's no way that the people were behaving like that. I believe that when you watch certain TV shows, you accept a plausible, what they call a, we accept the language and style and ridiculousness of the thing because it's play. It is made up. It is for fun. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. Kiam, your name. A big issue I have as a writer is knowing exactly what I want, but delaying so much to do what needs to be done. Right now, I am working on my TV pilot, but it's so slow. You are talking to someone who has taken 30 years to write a novel, so I am not going to tell you that you're wrong. All I would say is, do remember, if you know what needs to be done, everything you do to get it done is worth doing. Try to not work. If you are working as fast as you can or as well as you can, and that takes a long time, so be it. The main thing is, I would say, if you are working on things that are not helping you get done, try to put those aside and just do the things that will actually help you get it done. A lot of my videos are about this, getting it done. So please do try to check that. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. It takes confidence to give wholeheartedly. Yeah, I would say that. I do feel confident in this arena is the one play, the subject of this kind of work. I do feel pretty confident. What's the quickest you've gone from not having an idea to having a finished script? And what's the quickest it took someone else to achieve that? There have been some scripts that have been written in a couple weeks. I personally once did write an entire script in a weekend, but it was a rewrite. So it wasn't from having no idea. I had read a script. I was working for a company, actually, that was producing. And I said, I think I can make this better. I had read a bad script. I felt it was bad. And I knew what would take. So I said, I think I probably made an outline, but I did write the script in 3 days. I couldn't do it now, I'll tell you that. Maria's talking about Darth, characters we love to hate. Yes, but Darth Vader, did we love Darth Vader in episode 4? When it first came out and he was just the villain. Yeah, we kind of did. He was kind of cool. There is something impressive about a monstrous, character. It can be admirable in many ways. What do you think about the teachers obsessed with Save the Cat? They use it as if it's a Bible, not just one, but a few coaches keep emphasis on how great the book is in Film Courage and YouTube videos. Roberta, that is a great question. Partly, I would say, please do look at this video, which there's already a link to down and below, for my general take on any of these screenwriting theories or rules. My personal opinion of Save the Cat is that it's not very good. However, that said, there are bits and pieces, and this is once again why I say, don't be mean. There are bits and pieces, particularly the chapter on log lines stays in my memory as being rather useful. But a lot of it, I think what happens is people who don't do this full time, or people who are often, you get screenwriting teachers who have not done that much screenwriting, or people who look for an easy answer. They want a set of rules, and all I can say is those teachers, you get from them what you can and then move on. I would say that I'm sorry, I hit that. The other thing I would say about Save the Cat is that one of the reasons it's popular is because it's short. It's really easy to work with. It's got very short sections, and it's written in a very funny conversational way. Whereas if you look at McKee's book Story, or you look at the Screenwriter's Journey by Vogler, these are massive, detailed, scholarly sounding books. And frankly, it's just more work. It's harder. Save the Cat is easy. Save the Cat is also often wrong. It's just that simple. In my opinion, for instance, I believe the sections where he defines what different genres or types of stories is baffling. I do not get that. Okay. All right. Gus. Gus says, I started with a coming-of-age novel about friendship and now pivoting to a mystery thriller. Have you ever reworked characters from a simple story into a different genre, like sci-fi thriller? Gus, that's a cool question. The answer is I tried to. I was once working on a sci-fi thriller, actually, that was a rewrite job. I was working on a job where I had been given a script. There had been a lot of really famous screenwriters who had worked on this script, many, many rewrites. And it was sort of a Terminator-y, action-y kind of movie with a gimmick about time. Anyway, the point is, I read the original material that it was based on. It was based on a short story. And after reading this script, I was like, and I worked on it, and I came up with a take for making a good, better action version of it. And then I happened to read the original material, and I realized, actually, the original material was kind of a rom-com. It was like in structure and heart, it was much more of a romantic comedy than an action thriller. And what the many, many versions had slowly moved it towards action thriller because action thrillers were more financially acceptable. They were more profitable at the time. And sometimes Hollywood will do that. They'll take a piece and they will say, oh, this could be the basis of an action thriller. And then they'll build it up. So I begged them. I said, could we just scrap the action thriller and make the rom-com version? They said no. But the answer is, if you don't cling, if you have a story which is, you are recognizing it has a genre potential in another genre, if you don't feel like you're going to cling to things that are going to conflict with the genre, great. Think of that as you're adapting it. You're transforming it. It's like if somebody made, Romeo and Juliet into a comedy. Obviously, you would change the ending, but the idea of Romeo and Juliet being a comedy is not impossible. The idea of these two families and this couple is in love with each other, but everyone else is mad at them. As long as people weren't dying, but instead they're having other consequences, Romeo and Juliet could be a comedy. So my point about that is that if you see it and do it, there's nothing wrong with that. There is no right or wrong about it as long as you don't find yourself in conflict between the needs of the two versions. You have to give up the old to make the new version work. Famously, actually, Good Will Hunting originally kind of turned into a thriller. One of the earlier drafts of Good Will Hunting had all this stuff where Will Hunting was being hunted by the government and the CIA and the military because they wanted his brain for nefarious military work. And eventually somebody said, just make it a coming-of-age story. And they were right. Okay. Okay, Robert is explaining, I tried 10 screenwriting coaches for one session and settled on one. The one told my work is shit. Actually, is one of the most popular ones in the market. I never hired him again. Yes, you did the right thing. People have different opinions. Anyway, any advice on writing satire? By the way, please, no more questions. We're way over time. Do you have any advice on writing satires? How can we avoid the content being too far-fetched? I don't know that that's a big deal. You have to decide if you're trying to do a believable satire, then you have to be careful. Just think, do I think this is believable? But satires can be nut jobby. Sorry to Bother You, for instance, is an amazing movie. I don't think you can. It's far-fetched, but if you've never seen it, Sorry to Bother You is the title of it. It is a satire of capitalism, and it is freaking great. Okay. Do you have any advice for when you are writing a scene or a script and you get to a part that is so painful for you that you walk away because it's hard to go back to it because it is that personal for you, and you end not going back to it for a while? My advice would be, think about why you are putting, like, if the thing is so personal to you that it is uncomfortable, think about why it is that you are putting it so directly in there. What is the purpose of being that direct about it? And that could be valuable. If it's too hard for you to actually deal with, you might want to think about that before you put it out into the public in a form that gets judged, reviewed, and also tinkered with. But when you write a script, other people are going to say, oh, that thing that's deeply personal to you, I want to change it to this thing that I think is cool. And that will just tear your heart out. So my advice is, if you are writing something that's very painful and you need to walk away and come back to it, just do that. There's nothing wrong with working on it over time, but do think about what it is about that is so directly important to you. But on the other hand, the more you work on it, the more it should leave you and become the work. And when it becomes the work, it in theory if you're feeling deeply about your work, that's great. If you are exposing something that is deeply personal, you might want to consider whether or not you want to transform it in some way to make it, you make yourself less vulnerable. While at the same time thinking about what in the personal thing is valuable and trying to enjoy the process of working through it in the creativity. That's the only thing I do. Okay. Okay. Yes. So Maria is agreeing with me that it is not good to have somebody calling you names when they're your teacher. I have a question. I am very interested in writing one of the political figures who I found very interesting, but he is still active, active in life in politics. Should I create a fictional him instead? I would, unless you have a political reason to write about that actual person. In other words, if you are trying to undermine their career or attack them politically, then I suppose you want to do it. Even then, I still think it's better to create a fictional version legally, although that is not legal advice, but just it seems to me. Furthermore, it gets very difficult to find people who will finance something that is actively engaged with a living person's politics. It's just very risky for them to put money into making a film like that. Whereas if you fictionalize it, very often it becomes emblematic and still possibly controversial or admirable. Anyway, you are welcome, YPS, and thank you, Maria, for stepping there. You know a lot more about this than I do, Maria, so thank you. Instead of a biopic, yes, if you are doing a biopic, you just do some research on the legal and political meaning of doing a biopic, the realities of that. I can't say that one is better or worse. I can just say recognize the risks you take when you make one of those choices. How can you say your own place is a crappy place? The background seems like, no. Thank you. This is not a crappy place. I'm talking about 30 years ago. I lived in an apartment that was entirely the size of this room, and it had mold, and the ceiling kept falling through, and it was kind of bright. It was also really on a cool street, so that's fine. Yes, exactly. There are movies about current political figures. I would say, personally, think about what is your goal when you are trying to write about a real person. What is your goal, and can that goal be better served by creating an emblematic fictional version that you can make us do what you want? If you are writing about a true person, I would urge you to try to remain true, factual. which often limits your ability creatively. So, you know, yeah, exactly. That's why I did it. I was, yeah, exactly. Robert was commenting on the fact that I was a receptionist at a company that had me. It was the financial floor of a garment company, and they needed someone at the front desk who would just push the buzzer and keep people out unless they work there. And so it was a good job because I had a lot of free time to sit at my desk and write. Okay. Jeff Messerman. Hi, Jeff. My IT help desk gig was great for writing. I cranked out script pages while waiting for someone's printer to fail. He's a paid writer, right? Exactly. Yeah, no, I was an office temp for exactly the reason. I was an office temp for years and years because no one, I mean, yes, sometimes jobs were very hectic, but a lot of times they were just like, sit at this desk, answer the phone, make some Xerox copies, and just hold down the fort while this person is away for their vacation week. And that was great because the expectations were very low. And if I was writing, no one was upset with me. Okay. Okie dokie. I'm going to have to skip some of these comments. Please stop writing comments. I've got to go. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Anonymous. And honestly, hang in, keep working, keep working. You just never know. You just never know. And you may find all sorts of things happen. You never know. Open your mind to different ways to get your work out. Maybe there's community theater or a local film school that will do. I don't know what you're right, but the point is that there's many, many ways to do the work. And you never know what that will bring you. Thank you, David. I am a sharp-dressed man. I really appreciate that. Okay, so, oops. Yes, I gotcha, man. All right. Jeff says, adaptation is one of the few times a piece of art, let alone a movie, blew my brains out. We, as the audience, are not in on the joke. We are the joke. It is, yeah, adaptation is an astonishing work because it's not just meta and clever. It's in its folding in on itself and self-awareness. It is questioning the meaning of storytelling and the value of storytelling and trying to get to the heart of how our lives fight back against cliches and yet how valuable cliches are. It's good stuff. Okay. Yes, exactly. Maria's using my advice, which is it's worth looking at things like Save the Cat or any teaching. It's worth checking it out. You never know what you're going to get. Yeah. That's absolutely sure. There is nothing wrong with watching videos, and sometimes just like one little thing will be like, oh, that's actually a useful point. Or sometimes someone will be you'll feel they are so wrong that it helps you to feel more confident in what you are doing that's different than that. That's a value. There's value to that kind of stuff. Okay. Just YPS, just remember something that is something with Sully. They paid him for his life rights. He was contractually involved in the creation of this fictionalization of his life. If you were to do Sully's story and call him Sully and not engage with him legally, you would be in legal trouble. Okay. Ricky says, Save the Cat gives you a formula. I bought it when I thought I needed a formula. It didn't work for me, but it made me admit I'm a person for whom formulas never work. And that's okay. So it was cheap therapy. Exactly. That's exactly what I am saying. If a formula helps you, and there are some good ones. I've often talked about Michael Arndt. Michael Arndt has done let's see if I still have it here. Yeah. Michael Arndt did a video on endings. It's like a 2-hour analytical video about The Graduate, Star Wars, and Little Miss Sunshine. Anyway, he analyzes them beat by beat. He keeps saying it's not a formula, but it is a formula. But it doesn't matter. It's an impressive formula. It's full of helpful things. It's not the only way. Dexter basically is in many ways a sitcom. That's what's cool about it. It was the good thing about Dexter is how bold it was in trying to get you to sympathize with a person doing murders. Okay. All right, I gotta go. So I'm going to say, Harry Cahill. I don't think I've met before. Hi, Harry. If one sucks at writing dialogue, is it better just outline structure scene for improvisation? The answer is, it's only better if you are going to then either hand it over to a director who likes that, or if you are going to direct it yourself and you are confident that you can work that way and you understand how that works. It's not that easy to get people to make a coherent work. David O. Russell works from scripts. He allows improvisation, but he has scripts. Cassavetes' films are very often very hard to follow because the improvisation is so key. But my answer is, if that works for you, if you feel comfortable either finding a director you can work with who will take your outline and then work from there, or if you are planning to direct it yourself and you like working with actors on it, then yes, do that. There is no right or wrong. If you find that there is some kind of strength or weakness, if you hate writing dialogue, there are ways to not write it. That's so cool. You are welcome, YPS. And Maria, thank you again. I gotta go. It's been colossally long. It's been colossally delightful. I am so happy to have seen all of you, and thank you so much for the questions and the thoughts. And I will see you next week. Until then, please go write something.